So, hello and welcome everyone, and a warm welcome to our panelists who have been here for the past couple of minutes, getting ready to kick off this session. I'm here to share some very quick housekeeping information before passing this on to the moderator. So I'm Laï Boutake, Director of Communication Outreach pour Academia 2063. Bonjour à tous et bienvenue à cette session de dialogue continental organisée par Academia 2063 et ses partenaires de projet. Durant cette rencontre, nous allons entendre des acteurs venant de plusieurs pays d'Afrique discuter des résultats d'analyse multi-pays menés dans le cadre du projet DERPIn. Donc, c'est le projet DERPIn qui nous réunit aujourd'hui. Nous assurons une interprétation simultanée en anglais et en français. Pour y accéder, bien vouloir cliquer sur l'option en bas de votre écran. Nous vous invitons également à soumettre vos questions ainsi que vos observations dans la boîte Q&A qui se trouve également en bas de votre écran. Et vous aurez également la possibilité de lever la main pour poser vos questions en direct le moment venu. Sur ce, je vais maintenant donner la parole à notre modérateur. Il s'agit de M. Bagoré Batili et il est le directeur général de la laiterie du Béger.
Merci beaucoup, Lahi. Bienvenue à nos panélistes et à tous les participants. Et je vais juste me permettre d'ajouter que peut-être les participants peuvent mettre sur la chatbox, enfin se présenter sur la chatbox, dire qui ils sont et ce qu'ils font, ce qui nous permettra, s'ils ont des interventions, de mieux les situer. Voilà, donc sans plus tarder, je vais passer la parole pour ouvrir cette session à Monsieur Michael Dour, qui est le Component Lead sur le Fund for Promotion and of Innovation in Agriculture à la GIZ. Et je précise, excusez-moi pour le franglais, je précise que M. Dour aura quitté cette session juste après sa contribution. Donc, Michael, please, the floor is yours. You're on mute, Michael. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
I think somebody has muted me. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm really grateful to be here, and I wish you all a good morning or a good afternoon or a good evening to everyone, wherever you are joining us from across the wonderful continent of Africa and beyond. A couple of minutes ago, I just shared with Dr. Sirugunda from Makerere University that I used to live for many years in the great country of Uganda, so the African continent is very close to my heart. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important virtual policy dialogue event. I'm delivering this welcome note on behalf of GIZ and particularly the Fund for the Promotion of Innovation in Agriculture, which is also known as I4Ag. I want to express my sincere gratitude for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. Yesterday, I listened to an inspiring talk on functional structures for transformative agriculture and food system development. The argument was made that only a collaborative and joint effort by the public, the private, and the civil society sectors will be able to deliver on this objective. And you are attempting exactly that. We have a fantastic group of participants joining us, from policymakers and decision makers who shape the future of nations, to innovative private sector leaders, dedicated researchers in academia who are expanding our knowledge, and the civil society who makes so much possible. A special welcome also to our esteemed colleagues from the Pan-African Farmers Organization and the country-level partners whose voices and experiences are absolutely vital to our discussion. The I4Ag Fund, financed by and implemented on behalf of the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ, identifies and promotes innovations in the agriculture and food sector. So we co-develop and pilot innovations with our partners, assess their impact potential and facilitate their scaling for large impact. In fact, the I for Ag component that I am heading is called Scale and develops scaling tools and methodologies and capacities. And in this role, we are also specifically working with DERPIn in exploring scaling opportunities. We have just started these discussions on scaling with DERPIn, and we are hoping that we can sort of materialize lots of opportunities and have lots of activities in future together. DERPIn stands for Digitally Enabled Resilience and Nutrition Policy Innovations, and the project truly excites us at I4Ag. We consider DERPIn as one of our success stories, and I want to take the opportunity to thank all of you who have contributed with great effort and dedication. This project is all about using the power of new technologies, especially artificial intelligence, to help our farmers and strengthen food security in Africa. Imagine being able to map different types of crops from space or accurately predict how much food grains will be harvested and even before it's picked. That is wonderful, and it wasn't possible in the past. This project is doing just that, using information gathered from satellites, the remote sensing data. It isn't just cutting-edge technology. It is technology that can make a real difference in the life of millions. And yes, I am intentionally saying millions. We are humble people, but we want to think big when it comes to making the world a better place. But it goes even further. The project is also developing innovative platforms that can show us where people might not be getting enough essential nutrients and where communities are most vulnerable to various challenges. This kind of information is priceless, not just for governments making smart policies, but also for the private sector. We are already seeing this work in action in a number of countries like Benin, Ghana, in Uganda, in Malawi, and in Senegal. And we are learning so much from these experiences. And the hope, of course, is that we will be able to expand to new geographies and other contexts and countries with this DERPIn approach. This dialogue today is a unique opportunity. It is a chance for all of us to come together, share ideas, and discuss how we can best use these incredible tools to create a brighter, more food-secure future for all of Africa. Your insights and your questions and your active participation are what will make this event a success. So I want to thank you again for being here and participating in this important event. Now, unfortunately, I will have to attend to other commitments and will not be able to join the discussion, but it is my wish and my hope that you will leave this meeting with a clear sense of direction and purpose. Looking at the expertise and wisdom gathered here, I have no doubt that this will be the case. So thank you very much. I'm thankful for you being here, and have great deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael Doe. And thank you for making yourself available. And feel free to leave now. And I think we will continue with your guidance. And I'm sure we'll have these very passionate discussions. So, Julie, I think now the floor is yours. And you're on mute.
Thanks. Can you hear me now, Bagore?
Yeah, definitely. We can hear you.
Great, great. Sorry, it took me a moment to unmute. Greetings, everybody. My name is Julie Collins, and I am the coordinator of the DERPIn project at Academia 2063. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited to talk about the project with some people beyond the original DERPIn countries. So I'm going to give you a very short overview of the project. DERPIn is a project that lasts a little over 2 years. We started in late 2023 and will be finishing this round of DERPIn next month. And as you know, this project was commissioned by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. It is implemented on behalf of GIZ as part of the I4Ag Fund and implemented in collaboration with PAFO, the Pan-African Farmers Organization, and with country partners. And we're working in 5 African countries, which are Benin, Ghana, Malawi, Uganda, and Senegal. And the impetus for this project was the recognition that shocks are getting more and more frequent in Africa. We all know everything that has happened over the past 5 years, the COVID pandemic, the Ukraine-Russia war and trade shocks, many other climate shocks and conflict shocks, and these have had very negative impacts on economic development, on health and nutrition, and on other measures in the continent. And these shocks are having a worse impact than they need to, simply due to the lack of data and information to allow policymakers and also other actors to adequately plan and adequately respond to shocks. So this project is hoping to fill some gaps in data and information, and we want to do that through digital technologies. There have been a number of advancements in digital technologies in the last several years, which have helped to make information more available and accessible than before. And we're hoping to enhance this through the DERPIn project. The objectives of the project are to add value to the data and digital resources that we already have and are working on developing at Academia 2063. We hope to build the capacities of different agri-food system actors in Africa, all the way from governments to the private sector, to researchers, to NGOs, to farmers and farmer organizations, to design strategies, policies, and make decisions that are well informed by data and information. And we are doing this working with partners in each of our 5 countries in order to help ensure that the data produced is relevant and meets the needs of people. We have 2 major work streams under DERPIn. The first is on agricultural data based on remote sensing and AI. And as Mr. Dure was talking about, there's a lot that you can do through satellite data that in the past you could only do by sending teams to the ground. Through satellite data, a lot of agricultural information is more available and more accessible than ever before. And so with this work stream, we're trying to build on some of these opportunities and increase the availability of agricultural statistics. Our second work stream is on nutrient adequacy and vulnerability. And here we are trying to help understand at a very geographically disaggregated level, what are the patterns of nutrition and what are the patterns of vulnerability in the countries. We're sharing the outputs that we produce through online digital platforms and other knowledge products, and also through learning and dialogue events. A very, very quick introduction to our nutrient adequacy work, and you'll hear more about this from my colleague in a few minutes. Under nutrient adequacy, we look at household survey data. We use it to estimate nutrient adequacy gaps at the regional or departmental level for the 5 DERPIn countries for protein, kilocalories, and 11 different micronutrients. And we also simulate the potential impacts of different kinds of shocks on nutrient adequacy. So this helps to understand what are the current patterns in the countries of nutrient adequacy and what can we expect to happen if a shock arrives. For vulnerability, we also look at several different dimensions of vulnerability, again, based on household survey data, and combine these to form a composite vulnerability index, again, at the subnational level. And these types of analyses have a number of different uses. Already for the government, they can help to plan and target interventions that are meant to improve nutrition, and improve resilience. They also have applications for other types of actors. For example, the public or the private sector, food processing firms could use information on nutrient adequacy gaps to better understand fortification opportunities or nutrient enhancement opportunities. Our second work stream on agricultural statistics has a number of different outputs that we're producing. And again, you'll hear more about this in a few minutes. One of our major outputs is to map crop types in real time. We use satellite data and AI models to understand where crops are being grown in the current season, so that planners don't have to rely on historical information or a knowledge of where crops used to be grown, but can understand where they are at this moment. We also produce suitability maps that can show where crops could be grown, even if they're not currently being grown based on conditions. We also forecast food production before harvests, and the work that we've carried out under DERPIn has allowed us to do this at a very, very disaggregated level in pixels of 10 by 10 meters, which is very well suited to small farms. We also track greenhouse gas emissions as well as biogeophysical data on vegetation, on temperature, on rainfall, and we're able to compare patterns with previous years to better understand the current season. And of course, there are many applications to this type of data as well, both for the public sector, for ministries of agriculture, and for private sector planning and purchasing and supply chain decisions. We have 2 digital platforms that we've set up through the project. The first is the Food System Crisis Observatory and Response tool, FS-Core. Here we share our nutrient adequacy and vulnerability data and let users simulate the potential impacts of shocks. Our second platform is the Africa Agriculture Watch platform. We already have an Africa Agriculture Watch platform that shares production forecasts. And through DERPIn, we are producing country-specific platforms with additional information and services for the DERPIn countries. So as you know, this project is all about increasing the availability and access to information. And we have to recognize that women farmers and women in general often face disproportionate barriers in accessing information as well as other resources. So through DERPIn, we're helping also to enhance the capacity of different agri-food system actors to take the needs of women into account when designing their strategies. And we also hope to make our information and data resources available to women. We've been able to collect some data on challenges of women and men farmers through the project, and these have confirmed that women farmers indeed have lower access to information and lower access to digital technologies in particular, and often rely on other information channels. Our next steps under DERPIn are to finalize our analytical outputs, to launch the digital platforms. We're continuing our engagement in the countries over the next month or two. And when our current phase of DERPIn ends in August, we will continue to maintain these digital platforms and continue to be available to answer questions and disseminate these within the countries. So the information that we generate is not going anywhere when the project ends. And we're also exploring opportunities for scaling the project to additional countries, additional contexts, and also additional analytical areas. What we want to do today in our dialogue is to share the findings of the project at a wider level outside of our 5 DERPIn countries. We're hoping to encourage some dialogue among the participants from different countries on how DERPIn could address the needs of your sector and in your country. We want to get feedback on potential applications and also opportunities to scale DERPIn and replicate the DERPIn approach in different areas. And it's very, very important to acknowledge that everything that we've produced was carried out in partnership with a lot of different organizations. At the continental level, we're partnering with PAFO, and at the regional level with PAFO's regional farmer organization members. At the country level, we're working with national farmer organizations and also with national research organizations who have really been incredibly valuable in producing the analysis and also in carrying outreach at the country level. So we very much thank all of our partners. Thank you, Bagore, and back to you.
Thank you, Julie, for this very good introduction. And now we can go to the next part of our meeting, which will be the presentation of the results and tools that were developed. And so I will give the floor to Mohamed Tankari, who will talk about l'adéquation nutritionnelle et la vulnérabilité. So I think in English it is nutritional adequation and vulnerability. Okay, so Tankari, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Mohamed Tankari. I work at Academia as Deputy Director and Head of the Policy Modeling. I am part of the technical team working on the different products or tools that are being developed under DERPIn. So it's my pleasure to present you one of the products that we develop under this project, which is called FS Core. So FS Core stands for Food System, Crisis and Observatory Response. So it mainly focuses on vulnerability and nutrient adequacy, as we will see in my next slide. So let me start with some element of the background. So I think Julie already mentioned some of them. We all know that the climate change is impacting lives and livelihood. We also have health issues and also some economic crises that are really impacting livelihood in many African countries. So this shows a need for preparedness, and also we need to have rapid response by focusing on vulnerable communities. And more specifically, we need some proactive effort in order to build community strength during stable time. And we also need to be ready in order to provide support and intervention so that we can protect livelihoods during crisis. So it's again that background that Academia developed a tool that is called FS Core. So FS Core is a platform that we develop in order to support African countries to enhance crisis response capacity. So what is FS Core? It's an analytical tool in order to generate knowledge that can help improve preparedness and response when we are trying to plan intervention. The main goal of this platform is to really understand disruption and also how we can restore normalcy and create tools for timely intervention. So that is the goal of FS Core. It has mainly two components, the vulnerability component and the nutrient adequacy component. So in addition to that, one of the key features of FS Core is capability of allowing us to do some ex-ante assessment. It means that it's possible to do some early assessment of policy impact on nutrient adequacy and also vulnerability of communities. So it's possible to generate data that can help us design well-calculated policies and also get prepared by helping us to predict shocks and also how we can really improve community readiness. So, yeah. Now I want to share some few elements on the methodology. I think it's to be good to know what is behind this tool, but I want to go into detail, just some ideas in order to clarify or to provide some information about what is behind this tool. So for the vulnerability component, we know that vulnerability is multidimensional. We have some aspect related to social factors, we have economic factors, we have also environmental factors. So based on this, the different key factors that determine vulnerability, we build an indicator that help
I think we lost Tankari, or is it only my
Yeah.
side?
No. I think we lost him.
We lost him.
Okay, hope we get him back in a minute.
Wow.
Tankari, let us know, please, if you can hear us. Or do you want to try to leave the meeting and join again?
Maybe I think it's a solution. Sorry for that. So in the meanwhile, maybe we can inform the participants that they can leave their questions, and we will try to answer at the end of the two presentations that we are going to do in this part of the meeting. Okay, so if you have any question, please write it in the Q&A, and we will figure out to respond after the presentations.
Maybe we could, if we don't have Tankari rejoin very soon, maybe we could go to Jean-Paul's presentation and then come back to Tankari after that one is over.
Yeah, okay, please. So let's do that. I think he'll reconnect, but yes, we have a second presentation in this part. So it is talking about, it will be led by Dr. Jean-Paul Fay, who is machine learning specialist at academia, and he will talk about agricultural statistics based on remote sensing data. Please, Jean-Paul, the floor is yours.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, very well.
Okay, let me put it in presentation mode. Okay, thank you so much and welcome to this presentation. What I'm going to do today is to go on some product we have in the platform Agua. So,
can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
I'm
Mohammed,
back.
you're back.
Sorry, we had a power cut.
Oh
So
yeah.
the internet has gone for a moment.
So I think Tankari will be back to you right now. And
Okay.
sorry, Jean-Paul. Maybe as you didn't begin your presentation, we can follow with Tankari if you don't mind. Okay.
oh, okay,
So
no
so,
problem.
so Tankari, the floor is yours again.
Okay,
Sorry
thank you
for
so much.
the participant.
Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, but it is you have two screens, no?
One screen.
One
Can you
screen.
see?
So we can see, but it's not full. C'est pas en plein écran, tu vois. Je crois pas que ce soit le bon
Okay.
écran.
Okay. Can you see? How about now? Can you see it or not yet?
Une seconde. On voit le bureau.
Is
Okay,
it
parfait.
okay now?
Parfait. It's okay now. Very good.
Okay, sorry everyone. Yeah. So let me speak out a little bit. So I said that for the vulnerability, we consider, at its multidimensional, we consider different dimensions that can determine vulnerability, which are related to economic, social, and environmental factors. So based on that, we compute a composite vulnerability index based on the four dimensions that that are displayed here: food insecurity, quality of health system, climate change vulnerability, nutrient adequacy, and also, yeah, so that are the four. And then we rely on some secondary data and also data related to drought index data. We computed the drought index data in order to capture very well climate change vulnerability. Okay. As far as the nutrient adequacy methodology is concerned, we rely on household consumption data. So coming from surveys, so that we process the data in order to extract the information related to the nutrient. So there is a process that has been followed, for example, converting household consumption survey into nutrient equivalent. Then we compare household nutrient consumption with the requirement, and we calculate average adequacy levels by district and also by area of residence like urban, rural, and even by gender of the household head. Then in addition to that, we also estimated a model that helped us to compute some elasticities. So these parameters are used in order to measure the response of nutrient or demand for nutrient with respect to income and food price change. So the objective here of this computation is to define or develop a tool that can, or model that can allow us to estimate potential impact of income or price shock on nutrient adequacy, and also capped interventions that can help us to improve adequacy. Now let me show you how the type of maps that we generate based on the information or the data that we process. We think that this is the easiest way to display the result or help. How can we really, for example, because it can help us identify or locate where are the most vulnerable group. It can be in rural, maybe, for example, in rural areas or urban areas or even specific district. So based on the different dimensions that we consider, we can map the vulnerability level of the households in each country. So at subnational level. So it can be at the departmental level, at district level, or even at regional level. And then we also have on the right, a map that shows the overall vulnerability. So when we consider the multidimensional aspect of the vulnerability or the overall vulnerability by taking into account the 4 dimensions that we consider in the analysis. So in terms of nutrient adequacy, for the component on the platform, it's possible to display the profile of the different district or department of a country. So it's possible to see, for example, if we consider specific nutrient, what is the level of adequacy, for example, for a specific region. It can department like, for example, Dakar, Ghana, or other departments. This is an example. So we have, it's possible to do this type of, or to get this type of information for
Sorry, I can't hear Pankari anymore. I think he has once again a problem.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
hear
yeah,
me?
we can hear you. Yeah, yeah. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So this is the first component or subcomponent of nutrient adequacy under FS score. We have this profile, country profile, and then we also have a subcomponent where it's possible to do some simulation. For example, how a change in income or price will affect the adequacy level for a specific department. So this is a tool that can be used for ex-ante assessment. So in addition to that, it was possible to do some simulation in terms of price change. So why this is relevant? Because we know that some intervention like food price subsidy, or even in case of shock, for example, a food price spike, we know that it translates in an increase of food prices. So it's possible to anticipate the impact by seeing, for example, when there is an increase, or even we try to provide some support to household, how this will affect their nutrient adequacy. And this is also an indicator that is a proxy of household livelihood. It means that depending on how it's evolving, we can have an idea how our intervention is changing the livelihood of a household on the ground. So it also can be also used to monitor our intervention on the ground. So overall, these are the two components that we have. The vulnerability component, it helps us identify where are the most vulnerable communities. And then we have the nutrient component, which help us to see the current profile in terms of nutrient adequacy. And also, if we try to support or provide some support, it can be food price subsidy, or even we implement some long-term intervention that aim to increase household income, what will be the impact in increasing nutrient adequacy or improving household resilience. So we have the tool now is, it can be used, we have it for the 5 DERPIn countries, Benin, Malawi, Senegal, Ghana, and Uganda. So it's something that can be used in order to generate evidence for policy decision making. Now let me highlight briefly some value of the dashboard for key stakeholder. For example, from this dashboard, it's possible for a farmer to get information on data on nutrient gap, which can guide them on which type of crop that they need to really grow in order to support nutrition improvement in their communities. For researchers, we also have information that can be generated, in particular for decision makers, by doing some ex-ante analysis. And then it's also possible that policymakers directly use the tool in order to identify areas where there is nutrient inadequacy and also target where they need to really concentrate their effort in terms of intervention or providing some support. For private sector, this tool, by using this tool, it's also possible to really identify some opportunities in order to, for example, for public-private partnership, for example, which type of food we need to fortify in each community. So this is something that can be do by using this tool. The information that can be generated can really inform the decision for the private sector. And then for agencies involved in humanitarian or development action. So it's possible also to use this tool to really guide their intervention. For example, it's possible to identify vulnerable population region. So this can really help them prioritize a nutrition-focused program and also how they can allocate the resource. So I will end my presentation with some few takeaways from the analysis that we learned from the 5 DERPIn countries. First, vulnerability pattern differ significantly depending on which dimension is considered. So this is something very important to mention. And then we also realize that there are large variations in terms of nutrient adequacy levels between countries, between regions in a country, and across nutrient. So this highlights the importance of granular analysis, like what we are doing or what it's possible to do by using this tool. And then we also realize that all developing countries face some challenges in ensuring adequate nutrition. So this is something very important to highlight. And then prices and income shock have larger impact on some nutrients than others. So it means that we need also to really make very specific our intervention based on the information that this tool can help us to generate. And finally, we also found that by using evidence generated by this tool, it's possible to promote food fortification in a more effective way and also identify nutrient-dense crops that appear as key avenue to improve nutrition. So that are some of these are some of the key takeaways that I want to share with you. And I will stop here and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Tankari. Thank you. And we have now a couple of questions, but once again, we will try to respond after the second presentation that will be done by Jean-Paul Faye, as said earlier, who is a machine learning specialist. So please, Jean-Paul, can you take the floor?
And hello, Bachili. Thank you again. And I think you can see my screen, yes?
Yes, we see it.
Okay.
Oh, yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you again, and welcome to this presentation. What I'm going to show you here is what we already implemented in the Agua platform. So I will go from the food production, the bio, geophysical, and the climate data. And this is actually, I will not be showing you more technical aspect, but how you can use this data for values. So the outline of my talk is first the food production data. For this food production data, you will have you will see for example here the probabilistic crop map, the crop suitability map, the crop phenology matrix, but also the production forecast. The second part, in the second part of the talk, it will be related to the biogeophysical and climate data, where for the biogeophysical data, I will show you how you can use the normalized differential vegetation indices for many purposes, the rainfall, but also the land surface temperature. The second part here will be related to climate information, where I will show you what we are doing for tracking the methane emission and also the temperature trend analysis. The probabilistic here is some of the approach we are using. This is, we call it probabilistic crop type mapping. Just here to let you know what are the input data for this process. This is a process that use remote sensing data, but also machine learning, AI machine learning techniques to map some crops on the ground. The input data here are the data from the Sentinel-2. But for the Sentinel-2, as you know, there are many optical bands, but we are interested here only for optical bands with resolution of 10 meter by 10 meter. It means that it's any pixel that we will showing you here will have an area of 100 square meters. And these are the optical bands. This is the red, the infrared, the blue, and the green. From these optical bands, actually, we are generating some what is called the vegetation indices. And I will not go further why this vegetation indices, but the general idea is that they allowed us, for example, to show what is more green than other colors, for example. Okay, and all these vegetation indices are calculated 15 days by 15 days in order to capture all information during the growing season. On top of this satellite data, of course, we are collecting the data on the ground. And what is done is we map the entire crop field. We go to field, we map the entire crop field, and this will represent actually the target in the machine learning models. We tested some kind of machine learning models. For example, we tested the random forest one that get an accuracy up to 86%, depending, of course, on the country. But what I'm showing you here is the lowest values. This accuracy can go up to 90% actually. We also tested the support vector machine, but we saw that the accuracy of this model was lower than the one of the random forest, but also the one of the neural network. And this is because of someone to probabilistic crop type mapping is important because there is two ways you can do the crop mapping. Actually, you can predict the class. It means that where your pixel is belong to, but also you can predict with which probability the pixel belong to another class. For example, here you can predict that a pixel that represent one pixel can be 70% to be maize, to represent the maize, to see that maize is growing there, but 30% to see that on this pixel it was sorghum that was grown. Why this is critical, and also why this probabilistic crop mapping is crucial, and especially for Africa farming. This is because the complexity of small farming system that we have, that is diverse crop, the crop rotation, and so on. But also the factor that there are a lot of variability in field size and shape, and also the incorporating uncertainty and variability that we have. This approach help also the stakeholders or the policy makers to make better decision by choosing with which probabilities they want to consider depending on their requirement. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is one example of probabilistic groundnut map, and this is taken directly from the Agua platform, where it allowed you. I'm showing you here the case of Senegal for groundnut, but you can choose for the country, but also the crop type and the year, and you can visualize what is happening there. We have more or less all of the data for the DERPIn countries. The 5 DERPIn countries, as Julie already cite them. So as I already said, this is a probabilistic case, so it allowed you actually to choose a pixel with some values of probability. For example, here you can decide to see only pixel where the probability for the pixel to be groundnut is greater or equal to 0.6. This is 60%, or you can choose lower than value, lower than this value, or higher than that. It depends on you. It depends actually on what you want to do. Here I'm showing you one example. The probabilistic crop mapping is not only dealing with by showing you a single crop. It can show you also many crops at the same time. For example, here, if you look at the case of maize and cassava for Uganda, in this part of Uganda, it can give you the area where it is cultivated maize and cassava at the same time. Okay, coming to crop suitability map. The crop suitability map is actually one component we are using here. It is built on top of the crop mapping, and it allowed us actually to see on the crop land what is suitable for some specific crop, and that is growing for that specific crop, and what are the other areas that are suitable for that crop. And this is based on some atmospheric parameters like the evapotranspiration, the land surface temperature, the rainfall, the soil moisture, and the elevation. So what we do here is we look at for each of these atmospheric parameter for that specific crop. Here is the case of cassava. What are the areas that are suitable for each of these atmospheric parameters? At the end, what you will see that there is two areas here. The area in red will show us the area that are suitable for cassava and already cultivated for cassava for that here. And in yellow here, you will see the area that are also suitable for cassava depending on this atmospheric parameter, but it was not cultivated for cassava. And from this, you know already why we are trying to detect this, because it can help the decider to know actually where also it is okay to grow cassava. So when these are individual parameters, so what we are doing is to take the composite of this one, is saying that, okay, if we take one area and look at where it is suitable to grow some specific crop depending on the effect of all these atmospheric parameters. By doing this, we end up with something that is called the composite map. And in this composite map is telling us that the area in yellow here are the area that are suitable to grow cassava if you take into account all these atmospheric parameters. And yeah, this is what we call here the crop suitability map. Here also there is an example of Senegal here in the case of groundnut. It is not so different from the cassava in Malawi. Okay, after that we have the crop phenology metric. This is actually some information that can give you the starting point of the growing season and the end of the growing season, but also the peak of the growing season. And this is based on the vegetation index, which is NDVI. You see here that for different countries, it gives you where this season starts and where the season will end. And why this is important? Because it can inform the farmers, for example, to know exactly when the season will end and when the season will start, and also to know the peak of the season, and if they wanted to use some fertilizer and so on, they will know at which time they have to use them. There is also the production forecast. This one Julie already talked about it, but I will just to show you some example here coming from the platform. You see that, for example, in this platform, it will allow you to choose here the kind of crop, and at the end you will see what will be the production at the lower level. At the lower level, in the way that at its 10 meter by 10 meter, you will know what will be the production there. Okay, this is also the same thing as we have in Malawi. You can have the same map for all the DERPIn countries. Okay, let's go now for the biophysical data. I will go faster because of time also. Here, the first biophysical data here we will look at is the NDVI. as Julie already showed to you, I think so, there is this NDVI is actually something that we are using at local. It means that at the district level here, the case of Benin, and at this district, you can see how the NDVI look like. And this profile of the NDVI will show you if there is some anomaly during the growing season or not. And these are the mean information that we can get here. Because we are showing here the mean and the mean value and the maximum value, everything that will be outside of this will be considered as something that is abnormal, and this helps the decider to take action very early. The second one is the rainfall also. The rainfall also can help us to see if there is some anomalies during the growing season related to the rainfall. By seeing how it look like. For example, it can happen that in 1 month, what is expected is different of what is seen, and this means that this is an anomaly. The same thing, we can see the same, we can do the same exercise for the LST, the temperature also. So for the climate information here, we are trying to do 2 things. The first one is for methane tracking. For example, here in the case of Malawi, if you go to the platform, the Agua platform here, you can simulate everything. And what you will see is, in function of time here, you will see what is the concentration of methane. And from this and down here, it can show you the value of this concentration. You see here that these are simulated for 2 different dates, and you see they are actually different. The last one is actually the climate data that is related to the temperature trend and analysis. This is for Malawi. Here it is not only for Malawi but also for Ghana. In this case, we simulate the profile of the temperature related to the La Nina and El Nino, and to see what are the global event, what are the most chance on this event at the country level. And at the middle here, what we are having is the temperatures anomalies in kind of heat map. It means that if it is minus, it is down, or if it is positive, it is higher than what was expected. In the platform also, you can see something related to the density, the density of the temperature here for 2 kind of period, for example here, but at the district level. For example, here we see what was the density of the temperature from 1991 to 2020, and from 2021 to 2024. And you see that there is actually a significant difference. This is what I wanted to show you. On sake of the time, I was not able to go on more detail on every one of these, but I'm open for any comment and question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Paul. And thank you. Yes, we are a little late. So we have about 10 minutes delay compared to the predicted agenda. So what I propose is that we have noted the questions. There are many questions. Thank you very much to the participants. We will manage to respond to them by writing, or we'll take them after. And I propose we we go directly to the next paragraph, the next chapter, the panel discussion and reflection from DERPIn partners and stakeholders, if you are okay. So Mr. Jonathan Serigunda, I propose that I give you the floor right now. And I precise that you are your lecturer in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Makerere University. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. And yeah, I would like to thank Academia for this opportunity to share our experience here in Uganda as we're engaging or working on the DERPIn project. I'm going to talk about some of the, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to discuss some of the promising research frontiers and data gaps that the DERPIn project has revealed in our context here, and maybe highlight on some of the areas where we may need to enhance research partnerships to basically help enhance resilience in our agri-food systems. Before the DERPIn project, you could find that most of the data sets that are available were really aggregated data sets for maybe a whole country or a whole region. We didn't have data sets that could go down to sub-county or district level. And that's one thing that this kind of setup can actually, using digital tools, we can actually have a solution to that when we try to leverage satellite imagery and AI. Also mapping risks, climatic risks with food production. We don't have predictive models for forecasts, but then we couldn't also just map that maybe if such a shock happens, this is how we can actually respond. And that creates a good entry point for digital tools. Digitally collected data by our Bureau for Statistics is kind of lacking if we are to look at it per sub-county or per at a district level. So that's another gap that we can actually close by using satellite imagery and AI. The other bit we found through our engagements, we had a learning event in Kampala organized by Academia. It was a successful one where we engaged different stakeholders, farmer groups and members from Academia, members from the ministry and other agriculture organizations. One important aspect was, as we introduce these digital tools, we also need to enhance capacity in terms of digital literacy, mainly because most of the extension workers we engaged have limited knowledge or know-how on how to use even basic computers, but also most importantly, interpreting the information that we get from some of these tools. During the learning event, we had a wonderful discussion on gender disparities. And I think that's one of the sessions where people had those really insightful, it was an insightful discussion where the discussion was, are women really given enough chance to actually participate? Are they given chance to actually have access to digital resources or even use the digital infrastructure? That's on one side in terms of actually using the tools. But then there's also the bit in terms of their contribution to agricultural food systems. In a country like ours, which is subsistence based, and so we have a lot of subsistence farming, and women leave their homes to go and farm. However, issues to do with land use a big factor in terms of can they even own land? Such issues need to be kind of addressed as we try to close gaps in terms of our agri-food systems. So those are some of the issues we found as key gaps. And through our engagement with the different partners, we've realized that we need to create more opportunities for collaboration. Co-creation is very important. We need to engage. For us from academia, we need to work closely with people from the ministry, people from the agricultural ecosystems, the extension workers, the ministry itself, such that whatever we decide to do leads to an actionable kind of output, but not something that will be left on the shelf thinking this was developed by academia, it's not that important. So as an extension to the DERPIn project, I think we'll need to engage more with our agriculture extension cooperatives and extension workers organizations, the National Agricultural Research Organization, the ministry itself. Those are some of the things we're thinking of trying to work with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, we have some agri-tech platforms that rely on USSDs and collecting mobile data. So we're thinking that maybe if possible, since the DERPIn project at the moment really relies on satellite imagery for all these predictions and things like that, could we also try to find a way of incorporating these or integrating these platforms such that all this can actually be utilized? So that's those are some of the insights from our end.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Serugunda. Thank you so much. And
all right,
I will now give the floor to Mrs. Peña Chocaba, who is the regional women representative for Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. And maybe I can precise a little bit the topics we would want you to develop here after the presentation we had. And it's about how do members of Eastern Africa Farmers Federation currently access and use data, whether from satellites, extension agents, or markets. It's the link with the previous comments. And what are the challenges for these farmers, to obtain and use the data needed on a day-to-day basis for the decisions? Sorry, you're on mute. And I'm sorry for trying to keep all this in 5 minutes. We have only 5 minutes per contributors. We are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Betili, and it's a pleasure once again to be in this meeting with all the wonderful experts from many regions of Africa and beyond. Well, I'm representing my president, Mrs. Elizabeth Nsimadala, who is also on another official engagement, and I was tasked by her to speak on behalf. So I'm really stepping into very big shoes. So you asked us a question on how is the EAF, which is the abbreviation for the Eastern African Farmers Federation, currently using data, whether from satellites, extension agents or markets, and what are the challenges that farmers face in obtaining and using the data they need to inform their day-to-day decisions. Well, I'll start by introducing EAF, which is an apex body of small farmer holders through consisting of apex national farmer organizations and commodity associations. Well, data, we all agree that data plays a critical role in decision-making in relating to farming. EAF focuses on farmer-related data, ranging from farmer details, production data, input use data, weather-related to data, and research data. Access to data is in three different ways. And the first one is actual data collection through the members or the member associations, EAF-owned digital platform generated, or through the partnerships with other value chain actors like input, service providers, financial partners, market-related partners, research, and weather-based institutions. The data also we have used for informing production among our farmers through forecasting in relation to rainfall, pests, and diseases, including vulnerability of plant crops. Farm up decisions on intervention of extension frameworks through evidence-based analysis, that's to say use of fertilizers, climate adaptive practices, and so on. While advocating also for supportive policies along food systems, informing market trends and supply chains of different commodities, securing contracts with different institutions. And these are just some of the ways of how we are using the data collections. On the challenges faced by the farmers in obtaining such data, most of the data sets are not segregated. This makes the utilization difficult. That's to say, for example, if one needs purely cereal consumption data in a household, it's not easy to access such data present and the general consumption of all the related commodities. There's also huge costs related with data collection, which is expensive to undertake data collection, process, and also synthesize the data. Data protection among countries. In some of our member constituencies, we find that there is restriction or there is policy requirement by different countries for consent to use such data or wants data which limits the collection and the timely use of such data. On question 2, where you asked EAF on how the, pardon?
Sorry for interrupting you. Maybe you know what I propose is that thank you for responding this question, the first question, and maybe we, to manage the time, maybe we go to the next contributor, and so that everybody can express themselves on key questions, and if we can, we come back after. Okay.
Okay, please. All right, I appreciate it. It's okay.
So
thank you, Ernest. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So very well. So thank you. We will go to the third contributor, which is Mrs. Martha Haile, and she's the founder and CEO of EXI. Martha, I would love to hear you talking about how can DERPIn digital infrastructure be better leveraged to catalyze public-private partnership, particularly in the area of agriculture insurance, input distribution, or climate smart production development, product development.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for the invite. So I would say first that I think a really important aspect of being able to catalyze these types of public-private partnerships is going to be really important for DERPIn to be able to package this information in a way that resonates with businesses. So how can this data and these tools really be leveraged, and how have they been leveraged by private sector to solve one of their core issues. So how do, as an example, how do these tools reduce premium risk, default risk in regions? What are the ways in which they are using the satellite data to be able to improve their ability to go to market and to really be able to solve the issues for their users? So I think that's really key to get the private sector on board. And another one that we've actually spoken about a number of times, and I think you all did a really great job of going into the ecosystem to bring in a variety of stakeholders, is how do you integrate private sector at the co-creation at the early stages so that their incentives and what they're really aiming for within their businesses can be thought about at the starting point, essentially. So really being able to catalyze these partnerships, the engagement at the early stage is really going to be important, especially as these platforms continue to be in use beyond August. What is the new data? What are any new products that are going to evolve and to be produced? How can you bring in private sector early in the game so that you guys can co-create? And I think on a third front, I come from the media world. I just started a media company last year. And so I think a lot of partnerships fail, or they don't even start because of a lack of visibility or potentially perceived risk. So I think really being able to showcase these successful partnerships, the many partnerships that you guys have had to date within the 2.5-year period, it invites more companies to the conversation. And so how do you leverage different media channels, whether it's traditional media, new media, social media, to be able to continue to tell this story and the many different stories that are emanating out of all of the partnerships that you've had, to provide real examples of when this public-private partnerships have been useful in the past and how they can be in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha. Thank you. And we'll be back to you for another question if we have the time. But I would love to now switch in French and go pour donner la parole au docteur Mamadou Diango, statisticien à la direction de l'analyse, de la prévision et des statistiques agricoles au ministère de l'Agriculture, de la souveraineté alimentaire et de l'élevage au Sénégal. Donc, cher docteur Ngom, quelles sont les principales lacunes à combler en matière de données pour que le ministère sénégalais de l'Agriculture, de la souveraineté alimentaire et de l'élevage puisse faire face, mieux faire face, disons, et concevoir des politiques très ciblées?
Merci beaucoup. Je remercie tous les membres invités au niveau de cette plateforme. Avant de répondre juste à ces questions, je voudrais féliciter les principaux exposants par rapport aux thèmes importants qu'ils ont abordés. Vous savez, je suis très intéressé par ces expositions. Si je vois le Sénégal, mon pays, moi, en tant que professionnel des statistiques agricoles, mais aussi en tant qu'enseignant-chercheur, si je vois mon pays faire l'objet d'une exposition scientifique liant la télédétection, le machine learning, tout ça, c'est vraiment intéressant. Bon, vous me permettez juste de prendre une minute pour soulager une petite problématique. Vous savez, le problème du changement climatique au Sénégal, c'est quelque chose qui est extrêmement réel. Et vous savez, ça impacte sur les inondations, ça impacte sur les comportements des agriculteurs, parce qu'avec le changement climatique, il y a la régularité des inondations, des pluies insuffisantes, des pluies hors saison qui impactent sur la production agricole. Et vous savez, au Sénégal, 75% des paysans font de l'agriculture pluviale. Donc, avec le changement climatique, forcément, il y a des effets sur les revenus des ménages, plus particulièrement sur l'économie des ménages. Donc, les économies des ménages sont très fragilisées. Les ménages sont obligés d'adopter des stratégies de survie. Ensuite, au cas où ils n'ont pas les capacités, ils vont développer des stratégies de stress. Et la vulnérabilité à l'industrie alimentaire, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est réel au Sénégal. Et les chiffres le montrent depuis une dizaine d'années. Il y a un grand problème par rapport à certaines zones agroécologiques où il ne pleut presque pas, comme par exemple le nord du Sénégal qui fait partie du Sahel. la zone silvopastorale où il y a l'élevage transhumance, etc., etc. Donc, où l'agriculture est un peu développée. De toute façon, c'est au sud du Sénégal, un peu la Casamance, et dans le centre du Sénégal, le bassin arachidier, sinon le sud-ouest du Sénégal, le Sénégal oriental, un peu la partie ouest, comme Fatick, Thiès, comme ça, où l'agriculture est un peu stable. Sinon, au nord, au nord-ouest, et à l'extrême nord, c'est extrêmement compliqué. Mais n'empêche, les ménages ont des capacités de résilience. Vous voyez bien au Sénégal, il y a beaucoup de transferts des immigrés. Les Sénégalais qui sont à l'étranger, ils font beaucoup de transferts de mouvements de capitaux qui font que les populations, même s'ils sont un peu exposées aux effets du changement climatique, peuvent développer des stratégies qui leur permettent voilà, de créer une sorte de résilience permettant d'assurer le survie. À ce niveau, je pense que les études du CILS l'ont beaucoup montré. Bon, aussi, pour revenir un peu à votre question, bon, par rapport au Sénégal, vous savez, nous avons au niveau du ministère de l'Agriculture et de l'Équipement rural eu l'opportunité d'accéder à plusieurs projets et programmes qui associent à la fois la télédétection avec les problèmes liés à la sécurité alimentaire, etc., etc. En 2010 jusqu'à 2012, on a eu à recevoir un projet de l'Union européenne qui consistait à développer des méthodes de sampling point et aussi la télédétection spatiale avec l'utilisation de logiciels qu'on appelle SPIRITS qui fait l'analyse des télésamprels de l'indice de végétation. Nous avons eu à utiliser cet outil. Jusqu'à présent, les prévisions sur les rendements agricoles du Sénégal sont faites avec l'outil SPIRITS qui permet à partir de l'imagerie satellitaire sur les NVI avec les images Sentinel-2, voilà, de faire des modèles permettant à prédire les rendements agricoles. Entre 2010 et 2014, on a aussi eu un projet d'agrimètre voilà, qui s'appelait OREPS. OREPS, c'est un projet qui consistait à avoir accès à des informations agrométéorologiques comme l'indice de comme l'évapotranspiration des cultures, comme la pluviométrie, la température, les radiations solaires, l'humidité du sol, tout ça. Donc, ce sont des informations qu'on pouvait utiliser directement à partir de la plateforme de Earth, donc au niveau du Centre européen spatial. Et ça nous a permis, nous, en tout cas, les points focaux au niveau du CIS, de pouvoir faire des simulations sur l'évolution des rendements agricoles et de voir un peu l'impact du changement climatique sur les rendements. Et malheureusement, ce projet a pris fin sans pourtant que les pays ne soient à la disposition de ces outils. Mais c'était vraiment un projet qui nous a permis de comprendre qu'il y a une façon d'évaluer la sécurité alimentaire en utilisant ces paramètres. Et ainsi de suite, ainsi de suite. Il y a beaucoup de projets qui sont passés au Sénégal. Actuellement, on est avec le projet FASAO. C'est un projet qui consiste à aider les statistiques agricoles pour qu'on puisse améliorer leur qualité, etc. Bon, maintenant, par rapport à actuellement, vous savez, actuellement, on a un nouveau régime au Sénégal qui est là pour aider les Sénégalais à sortir un peu de la pauvreté, de l'insécurité alimentaire, etc., etc. Tout nouveau régime, quand il est venu, donc il y a une nouvelle stratégie de développement du Sénégal voilà, qui s'est focalisée plus particulièrement sur l'agriculture. Et cette nouvelle stratégie se veut une stratégie de résilience à l'insécurité alimentaire, aussi pour faire face au choc du changement climatique. Je peux peut-être citer juste en résumé quelques projets et programmes qui actuellement sont financés par le ministère de l'Agriculture et qui va droit à travers cette stratégie. Il s'agit par exemple de la stratégie de l'autosuffisance en semences certifiées et aussi la professionnalisation de la filière des opérateurs de semences, aussi les fournisseurs d'intrants agricoles. Voilà, ça, c'est un programme qui actuellement est en cours et la réalisation de ce programme est prévue en 2025. Il y a aussi le programme qui consiste à refaire la santé des sols et aussi à parfaire les programmes de fertilisation, plus particulièrement l'exécution de ces programmes qui a démarré actuellement et qui doit prendre fin en 2025. Il y a aussi le programme portant sur la mécanisation. D'accord. Ce programme vise à améliorer le partenariat entre le public et le privé afin de booster la mécanisation. Donc, l'utilisation des engins mécaniques à des fins agricoles est actuellement très sollicitée, en tout cas par le gouvernement, et les opérateurs sont en train de s'organiser pour que tout le monde puisse au moins accéder aux services de mécanisation. Il y a aussi la gestion des organisations paysannes et des coopératives agricoles communautaires avec le lancement des premières coopératives agricoles communautaires, parce que vous savez, au Sénégal, l'agriculture est assurée par les exploitations agricoles familiales. et que ces exploitations ne sont pas très résilientes par rapport au choc climatique. Donc, l'État a voulu essayer un peu de créer des coopératives qui seront plus résilientes, qui auront accès à des financements, à des capacités de production, voilà, et qui seront aussi innovées. Et ces coopératives agricoles communautaires, déjà 100 coopératives agricoles communautaires sont installées actuellement avec un maillage complet et équitable sur le territoire national. Et il y a 2 grands périmètres agricoles qui actuellement sont aménagés au Sénégal. Donc, on est en train de faire ce qu'on appelle une transformation structurelle de l'agriculture sénégalaise en passant de l'agriculture familiale à l'agriculture reliée aux coopératives. Pour ne pas prendre tout le temps, il y a aussi des conventions qui lient entre les ministères, par exemple pour la maîtrise de l'eau. Donc, le ministère de l'hydraulique est en collaboration actuellement avec le ministère de l'Agriculture pour voir un peu comment associer les efforts pour favoriser la maîtrise de l'eau. Parce que vous savez, dans le nord du Sénégal, il ne pleut pas beaucoup. Donc, on a besoin d'implanter des ouvrages hydro-agricoles, voilà, pour permettre aux paysans d'accéder à l'eau et de développer l'agriculture. Il y a aussi la commercialisation qui est actuellement des produits agricoles, qui est actuellement très un bon projet, en tout cas entre le ministère de l'Agriculture et le ministère du Commerce, parce que l'accès aux produits agricoles, surtout au niveau des zones qui sont très enclavées, pose un problème majeur aux populations. Donc, l'État est en train de voir comment multiplier les marchés agricoles, voilà, comment favoriser un peu l'approvisionnement sur ces marchés, voilà, façon. Ensuite, il y a aussi l'assurance agricole.
Peut-être je me permets, hein, comme je suis chargé de gérer le temps. Donc, je vais vous redonner, si vous permettez, hein, je voudrais en obliger de limiter cette session. Donc, je vais peut-être, ce que je vous propose, c'est de vous laisser terminer rapidement, mais après, je voudrais passer la parole au dernier panéliste. Et puis, je referai un tour de table rapide avec tous les panélistes pour leur donner juste 30 secondes pour dire quelque part, pour résumer quoi, le mot le plus important qu'ils peuvent apporter comme contribution. D'accord? Donc, si vous voulez bien, je vous laisse juste finir ça et puis comme ça, je passerai au dernier.
D'accord. Donc, je m'excuse, hein, juste pour finaliser. Donc, parmi ces projets aussi, il y a le projet lié à l'aliment du bétail, donc la construction des forages pastoraux, ensuite la santé animale, les programmes d'autosuffisance en viande. Voilà. Donc, tous ces programmes-là sont actuellement en cours d'exécution et le gouvernement compte utiliser ces programmes pour vraiment satisfaire les besoins des populations en matière de nourriture, etc. Donc, assurer la sécurité alimentaire. Maintenant, les besoins d'information par rapport à ces programmes sont catégoriquement problématiques, vous le savez, parce que pour suivre, évaluer ces programmes, on a besoin des indicateurs pour mesurer un peu leur performance et le niveau de réalisation. Donc, à ce niveau, le gouvernement est en train de voir comment, avec la DAPSA, mettre en place des systèmes de collecte qui permettront de collecter ces informations et de voir un peu l'état de suivi-évaluation de ces projets et programmes. Donc, à ce niveau, on a besoin non seulement de mettre en place des systèmes d'enquête à tous les niveaux par rapport à ces programmes, mais aussi des systèmes de suivi-évaluation qui seront interconnectés les uns des autres et qui permettront aux ministres et au gouvernement de voir la situation sur le terrain. Donc, c'est ça. Je m'excuse.
Non, mais je vous remercie.
Voilà.
Moi, j'ai le rôle ingrat de gérer le temps. Donc, merci beaucoup, Dr. Ndam.
Merci.
Et puis, and so I will switch in English once again. And,
merci.
Merci, thank you. And I will invite the last contributor, Navan Gard, from GIZ, to answer to one question. And it is, from your perspective as a development partner, what type of financing mechanism and partnership models do you see as most promising to scaling the use of data, of digital data and tools for agriculture system resilience?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Baitley. And thanks a lot first of all, thanks for inviting me to this event and having me on the panel. So coming to your question, I think it's quite pertinent when you talk about financing mechanisms and you talk about the partnership models. So what we think is that the blended financing, what we see it as one of the most promising mechanisms. And why I say that, because when we talk about blending, it's basically a combination of public and private sector funding mechanisms. So what we see it as that the public funds, they can be used for early stage solution developments and technologies, and so that you can de-risk those kind of areas. And when you have the solutions tested and all that, then probably the private sector can chip in and they can start looking at sustainability, and you can scale it up and you can bring a speed to the kind of solutions that have been developed. So what we see is that this blending financing is probably one of the most promising mechanisms for this purpose. Now, coming to the partnership models, what we see is that the multi-stakeholder models. So because we can't do things alone, so you have to get all the stakeholders, like the governments or the pharma organizations or the tech companies or the researchers, the academia, all have to be there onboarded. And so when I talk about multi-stakeholder models, I talk about all these stakeholders. You co-create the solutions, you test the solutions in the real context. And when you see that it's working, then you scale it up. So you scale what works actually. So that's how I see it as a partnership model. And one more thing that I would like to add is that investing in technology is one thing, but there is another dimension to it, which is working on the capacity building and working on digital infrastructure, and that too particularly in the rural areas. So that also we need to keep an eye on, and we need to work on that. So from my side, I will stop here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garrett. And once again, I want to call every one of you. I will keep the same order and ask each contributor to give in 30 seconds, please, his last words. So I will begin with Dr. Irugunda.
Right. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. 30 seconds, really short time. Yeah. The DERPIn project has been a very good project in our context, in that it has helped us to bring about collaboration amongst different entities of stakeholders, but then also it has revealed the glaring gaps which we have in terms of using digital tools to actually enhance resilience in food systems. In our context, where we have serious climatic shocks, where we have certain regions in the country with serious droughts, we need to be able to respond to those in a timely manner. And I think DERPIn is filling in that gap so well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I will give the floor now to Tanya Jotaba. Tanina?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, well, our last words from EF would be really to simplify data and digital tools, especially in translating the data and making it more usable and accessible to farmers. Maybe we could also use things like, translating it into local dialects and using simplified technologies, like working through telecommunications companies, so that these tools are actually accessible by the grassroots farmers, especially the women farmers. And then also more investment is required in packaging information and research, and emphasizing also on its accessibility, and making digital tools less complicated by designing research in a manner that depicts farmer-led approach, especially when it comes to women, and also encouraging literacy, data literacy, like our colleagues from Uganda. I didn't get his name, and our colleague also from Senegal. We've seen that they've really advanced when it comes to things to do with data and production forecasts. So making these things really usable, but from the farmer's approach and making it more accessible. This would be my last remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Felina.
Yeah.
So we give the floor to Martha Haile.
Yes, thank you. So I would just say make sure to be able to connect a lot of these pilots for the private sector with the commercial outcomes. So really, when we're talking about sustainability, what does that look like for the private sector? How is this research and the development of these tools leading to sustainable and impactful results? And then secondly, and finally, I would say expand the number of storytellers who are talking about DERPIn and humanize these stories and this research so that more people, and including the private sector, because that's obviously what I'm speaking about specifically, really understand what's happening. Because sometimes we have within the ag industry, we're a massive industry, complex industry across the continent. Sometimes our stories are staying very, very siloed. And so what are these channels and these platforms that you can use to be able to continue to expand the number of people who actually know the real results and the real stories behind DERPIn?
Thank you so much. Martha. Dr. Ngom, je vous redonne la parole pour une synthèse de 30 minutes. Un dernier mot. Dr. Ngom.
Oui, bonjour, merci beaucoup. Donc, ce que je disais tout à l'heure, c'est ça. Donc, en fait, le Sénégal, comme vous le savez, c'est un pays du Sahel. Donc, on est vraiment associé à la problématique des changements climatiques qui affectent vraiment une grande partie de la population sénégalaise. Voilà. Donc, l'État actuellement vraiment est en train de prendre des précautions avec des projets et programmes qui sont vraiment bien ficelés et qui actuellement même sont en cours d'exécution. Et comme je vous l'ai dit, ce sont des projets qui concernent la stratégie de l'autosuffisance en semences certifiées, aussi la santé des sols. Vous voyez que la santé des sols, c'est important. Et puis, en matière de télédétection, il y a une possibilité d'utiliser des images satellitaires qui pourront nous permettre de savoir un peu la stress des cultures, parce que la stress des cultures est un peu liée à la pédologie. Donc, forcément, la santé des sols a des effets sur ça. Aussi, l'État est en train de parfaire les programmes de fertilisation.
Dr. Ngom.
Oui.
Je vais couper encore, hein, parce que je voulais une synthèse, le mot de la fin.
Voilà. Donc, je pense que je voulais juste faire le bilan, mais de toute façon, puisque j'ai déjà parlé de la chose, donc ce que je voudrais juste dire, c'est vraiment, le Sénégal est très intéressé par ce projet. C'est un projet vraiment qui peut beaucoup nous permettre de voir les réalités voilà, sur le terrain. Voilà. Et puis, nous serons vraiment contents de recevoir les documents de base qui ont été déjà développés sur ce projet et qui intéressent les analystes sur le Sénégal pour qu'on puisse faire des comparaisons avec l'existant. Aussi, nous voulons aussi vous dire qu'en termes de données, voilà, nous produisons beaucoup de données statistiques et aussi nous avons beaucoup de données par rapport à la télédétection. Donc, n'ayez pas de problème pour ça. Si vous avez besoin des données, bon, vous pouvez facilement nous côtoyer. Donc, on va vous donner des données réelles sur le terrain. Et puis, voilà, parce que ça nous intéresse vraiment ce que vous faites. Voilà. Donc, merci
beaucoup. Merci. Je crois que c'est ça le but même de DERPIn, hein, de collaborer efficacement avec les gouvernements pour leur donner tout ce qu'il faut pour avoir des politiques publiques encore plus précises. So the last contributor, Mr. Garb, please, can you give us the final word that you would like to share?
Right.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that the most important thing which comes out is that the decision making is actually data driven. That's one of the most important things, and that's where DERPIn actually comes into the picture. So these kind of digital initiatives, and particularly this crop type mapping and yield forecasting, you know, how much it's going to help in terms of efficient use of resources and higher productivity and greater food security. Similarly, in terms of nutrient adequacy and this multidimensional vulnerability. So this will actually help target nutrition programs and social safety nets in a more precise manner. So the investment in data infrastructure acts basically as a catalyst. So it will lead to new partnerships and new solutions, new innovations, and ultimately support evidence-based policy design and decision making. So basically, these kind of initiatives, they build systems which make the efforts more smarter and more impactful. And lastly, like I would like to say that the return on investment, as people think about digital initiatives that they give direct services, I would actually like to say that it's not only financial, but also in terms of social, environmental, and systemic. Yeah, with that, I will stop. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for adding this. Thank you so much. So, very good. So we can go to the last part of this meeting. And I will ask Julie maybe to help me to synthesize the questions that we have, because we only have something like 15 minutes left to make something that you wanted to do in 30 minutes. So I think, Julie, can you synthesize the question? And then we will give the floor to the closing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bagore. And thank you so much to my colleagues for your presentation and also to all of the panelists. We really appreciated your insights. We have some comments in the Q&A. We've been responding in writing, but there are a few that we can respond to right now. And at the same time, if there are other questions, please, you're all welcome to continue writing them in the Q&A. There was a question from Felicia Iboka saying, how can we incorporate the agricultural researchers and rural farmers in low and middle income countries such as Nigeria with agri-digital? I think that this is a great question, and this is something that I think several of our panelists have also spoken to, that it's very important to not only to produce this data, but to package it, to message it in a way that is understandable to different types of users. And these have to be tailored and coordinated to the type of user. A researcher will understand and use data in a different way than a farmer organization will, and in a different way than the farmer, him or herself, will. So I think that a lot of these tools need to be really very tailored, and not only digital information channels should be used. It's also still important to reach people through other channels like face-to-face, like radio. So there's a lot of different work, I think, that can be done to get information to different people, and a lot of different work that we as DERPIn are still doing now in our last months of the project to make sure that the information we're producing is disseminated. Why don't let me read maybe one more question, and then I'll ask my colleagues if they would like to add on to what I have said and also to respond to an additional question. Sam Simiyu asked, is it a living tool that's updated in real time? And for the FS Core dashboard that my colleague Tankari presented, this analysis is based on existing household survey data. So this analysis is updated only when there's additional data available to do it. We are in the process of updating the analysis for Senegal and Benin since new household survey data has become available. Another person asked about the availability of consumption information at the individual level. This is something that we would love to be able to do more with in a potential future phase of the project. So for the nutrient adequacy and vulnerability, the updating depends on when survey data is available. For the Agua platform, I might ask my colleagues to give more information about this, but in general, these outputs are updated periodically on the public platform. They can also be updated more frequently for users as they need. So for example, if we're working with a Ministry of Agriculture, if we have already carried out a production forecast, but there's a change, like there's a weather crisis, if there's a weather crisis or a pest crisis or something else that might have changed our previous predictions, then we can redo these. We periodically redo them if there's a reason, and we can also redo them on request of users. Why don't I open to my colleagues who are here, if you'd like to add anything to those answers.
It's good to say that.
So,
Jean-
so Sankari or Jean-Paul, do you want to add something?
For me is okay. I agree with Julie. If you take the crop mapping, this is by season because the crop are coming season by season. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Paul.
Yeah, from my side, nothing to add. I think Julie covered responding to the question very well. Thank you.
Thank you for your synthesis, and thank you for helping to make this short. I know it's frustrating, but so I think, Julie, we also wanted to make a survey. Maybe we can share it now while we ask Racine to prepare to take the floor to make the conclusion of this session. And to see, I think, how we can push this to the next step. So yes, so I think you can see the pool. Everybody can see the pool.
Yes, sure.
Very good.
Great. Yes, thank you, Bagore. We have a, as Bagore mentioned, we have a very short 2-question poll that we'd appreciate your responses to. While you're doing that, why don't I say just one more word on a comment from Habiba Hassan Wasef. She said, she commented on soil degradation, loss of livestock, and limited access to agricultural inputs in war and conflict zones as a dimension that has an impact that increases vulnerability. Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a very important aspect of vulnerability, I think. And it's actually also one of the reasons that we are very interested in exploring the potential for digital technologies to be used to generate information. It is when there's conflict going on, or even a health crisis such as COVID-19 that really impacted household surveys that would normally have been carried out during that time to collect information on agricultural production and other things. And that's I think that's one of the areas where satellite data can help to provide information even for areas that are affected by conflict or areas that are hard to reach for other reasons.
Thank you, Julie. So I think I don't have the results of the survey, but I think there were 2 questions. I think the participant could respond during your response, Julie. And so maybe Dr. Racine Lee, we can give you the floor to close this session.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear and see you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Bagore. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, the panelists, colleagues that really joined us in this. I don't have much to say, actually. I think, can you still hear me? I think like all the colleagues already mentioned everything that is worth mentioning. My name is Racine. I work at Academia 2023, and I lead the Department of Data Management, Digital Products, and Technology. My background is in mathematical modeling and remote sensing. So, as we close the rich and engaging session that we had today, I would like to begin with a quick reflection. Actually, some of us here in Dakar maybe experienced a brief cut during this session, today's session, in terms of electricity. It was inconvenient, yes, but also symbolic, a real world reminder of the disruptions that define our context, from climate and conflict to infrastructure and supply chains. These interruptions underscore why projects like DERPIN are not actually, it's a necessity. Initiative of this project, we've not just talked about resilience, we've also built the tools to make it real. And we now have like crop type mapping, high resolution crop type maps, and food crop production maps that show what is growing where and when, critical to early warning planning and food security. The second one is a satellite-based seasonal monitoring, enabling timely tracking of planting cycles, yields, and weather anomalies. and importantly, and most importantly, vulnerability maps that combine socioeconomic and environmental data to reveal who is most at risk and where resources must be targeted. These are not just technical outputs, they are decision-making tools, tools that equip ministries of agriculture, private sector companies, planning bodies, development agencies, and even farmers, which are the central piece actually of this work, to act early, allocate better, and respond smarter. They help us move like from reaction to anticipation, from uncertainty, therefore, to insight. Today's discussion and dialogue confirm that DERPIn's approach is timely, scalable, and deeply relevant, especially as African nations implement frameworks like the Agenda 2063. We can also talk about national agendas where we have a change in the government bodies. I can talk here, especially in Senegal, for the development strategy 2025-2029 or the Agenda 2050 and the new technological deal. That is actually spreading, I think, a little bit everywhere in Africa in terms of new agendas. As we look to the future, I offer 3 reflections based on what I've heard, but also based on the DNA of DERPIn itself. Let us scale what works. I think Naveen talked about it. These tools are ready. They should not stay in pilot phase as they are. They should become national and continental public goods. The second one is like, let us invest in localization, which is what we've been doing so far. Data only becomes power when it's accessible to those who need it in languages, formats, and platforms that serve local realities. It's very important. And finally, to stay connected. What we've built together in DERPIn is not infrastructure, it's community. So let's try to see how we can work together on this. There are some scaling work that we intended to do. And thank you so much for your participation, your ideas, and your commitment. Let's continue this journey to turn maps into decisions and decisions into impact. And thank you again, Julie, for really coordinating this work as well. This has been very instrumental. Thank you to Bagore and all the participants and also the panelists. And thank you also to the teams and partners in countries that really helped into collecting the data, processing it, building the machine learning products, and so on. That helps really to make this work so far. And thank you also for the development partners, most importantly, via Naveen. Here I would like to mention GIZ. And we look forward to push this forward and see all the stakeholders, how they could benefit from these products. We're open for collaborations. You have our contacts, and please don't hesitate to reach out to us for further discussions and collaboration. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Bagore, back to you.
Thank you, thank you. So, and congratulations, Racine, for making this synthesis so efficient and helping me also to manage the time for all the group of people that was joined today. So we were up to 19 today, to 90 people. So it's a very huge participation. Thank you very much, everybody. And I think, Julie, we can hang over. Very good.
Thank you, Bagore. We can close now. Thank you so much to everybody for joining, and we appreciate all your comments. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us after this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Panina. Thank you to all the panelists so much.
Allez, merci. À bientôt. Thank you.
Merci, Dr. Angon.
Thank you.